Am I a bad influence on the podcast?
You're a bad influence on me, I think.
I'd say you're the only influence on the podcast.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me is the doctor himself. I can't not. Literally every time. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Hello. I forgot to say it.
Oh, well, it's fine. I think it's all right. Today we are joined by the Justice League to our Teen Titans, Kyle Clark.
That's fair.
Hey. I mean, that's fun. I'm happy to be that. You guys are Teen Titans, and this is the only way where one would describe either of you as teens.
But Titans? Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, this Teen Titans.
On the other hand,
sure.
I now look forward to Dad Titans one day.
What would that be?
They mowed the lawn and washed the car.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of time spent down in the garage of Titans Tower.
Yeah, let's drive our...
The weird mysterious guy loves his train set.
That's right. I love that.
Yeah. Let's drive our classic Teen Titans cars to the NW for the weekend.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, oh, dude. I completely lost whatever bit I was going to do. There's no bit.
That's fine.
That's the real reality of dad brain.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Being on an AM talk show in the apocalypse is exciting.
How are you managing the apocalypse? I was just about to ask.
I'm doing all right.
Are you quarantine tightening?
I am. I would fuck you for 1,000 years. I'm excited because yesterday I learned that you can go outside. That was a real game changer for me.
Whoa, that's going to really put a whole new spin on your life.
I was really under the impression that we had to stay indoors and shit. But now that I know I can go around the block, I'm going to record far too much digital content today, and then I'm going to go for a walk.
I thought you were going to do that on the walk.
Oh, no, I'm still keeping those separate for now.
Yeah, fair enough.
The inside stays inside.
Yeah, save it for later.
Like at some point I will have to take my camera out with me, because it was interesting yesterday, because I did it around 4:00 and it was glorious because everybody clearly, because they started running things on the news yesterday that were like, you can go outside, just don't talk to nobody. And so you just saw clusters of people outside, just because I'm in such a suburban area, but they're
blinking their eyes and looking around.
Oh, yeah. Like that Itchy and Scratchy Simpsons episode. Yeah. But the funniest was there was a cordoned off front yard where there was a bunch of kids just whipping around this front yard, and they put little fences up so the kids couldn't run into the street. And then in the street, standing watching them, were just two moms who are just the tiredest looking people smoking cigarettes I've ever seen.
And you're like, I get you, ladies.
I mean,
I was just like, you guys know what's up. There was some girls who were playing the game of how fucking far can I throw this ball? I'm sorry about my bad language.
Not on this podcast.
I mean, I'm happy to be here recording because after 4 or 5 days inside, my daughter has gone officially insane.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. I can't even imagine.
It's been pretty wild.
I'm impressed you guys are getting together, in person. Look at you guys.
I know. Yeah, well.
Just don't blow up our spot.
To be fair, there still hasn't been a confirmed case here, though there has been in Northwest Territories. Yes.
There was in Alaska. It's only a matter of time.
So it's just none of it in us now?
And I think it's only...
It's funny because, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's only no confirmed cases, though, because no one's been tested.
I mean, that's true, too. Especially because in such a big area that the Yukon takes up, and then the small amount of people that are here, nobody wants to be the person, I think, that blows up the spot. And
although they don't publish your name. They don't go oh, we have a confirmed case. It's Norman.
Sometimes I see the photo of somebody sitting in a hospital bed, but yes.
Oh yeah.
But it's been a fascinating thing. But going outside was exciting, but it had this very surreal feeling. I think the people next door had just a party.
Oh man.
Yesterday. That was pretty fun. I definitely remembered that I have a bunch of random bottles of wine sitting around and I can't drive anywhere. So I'm just is this where I just slowly become
now you're truly a writer. Just alone drinking bottles of wine.
That book idea is not going to write itself.
Now you just got to put a candle in the empty wine bottle, and then you're really set. Let it drip down.
it's also been funny just watching like every comedian just be like, now I'm building like, a Zoom comedy show and I'm going to make sure that people hear my stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to think about comedy at all. Time to write a book.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to all of the canceled podcasts in the next 2 months.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of podcasts that run for 3 weeks. And then,
A lot of big ideas.
We're going to be doing this daily.
Yeah.
I'm using this time as an excuse to kind of like, I feel like so many people were doing the opposite where it's like, I'm going to do more. And I was like, I'm using my zombie strategy of wait the first 4 weeks just at your house.
Yeah.
Like my joke has always been when people run for the zombie apocalypse, they're so excited and they get all their stuff and just immediately die in that first wave. What you do is you wait until like the third wave and you have so many dead bodies with new, weapons and supplies just on their corpses.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was the thing. We last night he and I played. We played The Last of Us together, and it seemed like a good idea until we started making all the connections to like what currently was happening. The word quarantine gets thrown around a lot.
Quarantine, martial
It sure
law.
does.
Yeah.
It's a quick spiral.
Yeah, but in the meantime, me and my girlfriend got into Lock and Key.
Nice.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
It's so good. I
Which
love
is-
that. That's such
it's
I
so
also haven't read the
campy.
comic, so.
I read the comic, which is a weird book. I like the book a lot. It starts with a much darker tone than it ends up with.
Yeah.
Which is probably closer to what the
'cause it
Netflix show has.
Sorta. Like the Netflix show is interesting because feels very similar to the comic, except for it's run through like the Riverdale filter.
Lock and
pretty
Key in
aggressively.
Riverdale, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's got all those vibes.
Without a doubt.
It's got I was texting Richard earlier that it's full of actors who look like fake fill in the blank. Like the mom is fake Julianne Moore and she's married to fake Ethan Hawke. They gave birth to fake Ryan Phillippe.
Yeah.
The fake Ethan Hawke as the dad, I think, is the linchpin in that. That's perfect.
But it's a look that Ethan Hawke has never had, but you look at it and go, God, he's going to do that to win an Oscar. Like,
Without
he's
a
going to look like Serpico for one movie because it makes him look hot and deep.
I mean, I'm going to buy into it. That's a Ethan Hawke I could get behind.
I love Ethan Hawke. I've been an Ethan Hawke
he's the
apologist
best.
for years before it was cool.
He's the only person I've ever met through any of the jobs I've had where I fell in love with him in a moment because we interviewed him for Boyhood a couple years ago, and I'm way into that movie. And I had said to him, "Hey man, that scene where you're playing the Wilco song for the kid, that broke my brain. Like that was a real like dad moment for me. I identified with. I was like, for me it was Grateful Dead." And he turned to me and he goes, "For me it was Willie Nelson." Then he put his hand on my shoulder and his other hand on his heart and started singing the Wilco
Oh
song
my
"Hate It
God.
Here." And I was like, "Are we married now?"
That's amazing.
That's like if Jason Momoa like went up to you, put his hand on your back, and just went, "My man."
Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't know if you'd
that
be more
shitty
like
catchphrase.
heart-warmed or like dick-warmed.
I'd be hard warmed.
I've got a
I believe
heart on
Julia
for
Prescott and her husband are watching Aquaman. Speaking of my man tonight, like we were doing we're doing a digital version of Stonecutters for those listening to the podcast, and we were doing tech preps for it. And she was like, "Come on, I got to go watch Aquaman."
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
The Aqua My Man, as the blank check calls him.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That would be my moment.
All right, we should start talking about this theme.
This is the long-awaited one, promised like years ago.
Which one is this, by the way? Because I don't remember what we're talking about.
Well, it's Fourth
We're doing
World.
a fourth world.
Oh yeah, Jack Kirby's Fourth World. I love it.
We've teased
I
it.
thought we made this episode already. I'm gonna be honest with you. Every time you guys say it, I'm like, no, we did that one.
I think elements of it come up because we did a Morrison episode.
Yeah.
And I obviously Final Crisis every once in a while circles back into the conversation. So I think we always circle the drain, but we've never just got committed.
Well, because the last one we
to
did
talking just exclusively about the New Gods.
What was the last one we did with Kyle? Was the
last one with Kyle? We did Commandy, so we
Yes,
were talking
that's
about
why.
other Kirby stuff.
That's what it was.
Okay,
So we talked about
that's
other
what
Kirby
it was.
stuff, and again circling the drain. But now we're actually doing it.
I'll give you this, my Final Crisis update. I'm pretty sure I got it digitally. I'll have to check, but I think I did.
So sorry, your update is that you're unsure if you have it.
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of before where I just didn't have it and hadn't read it.
Right. Okay.
well, it's better
I'm
to
one
know what you
step
don't
closer.
have, I guess.
Yeah. At this rate,
I'm pretty
have that
sure
final,
it's there.
We'll have that Final Crisis episode ready in 5
It was
years.
for sure acquired by legal means.
So yes, Fourth World.
Yeah, we're gonna dig in. I mean, like I said, we sort of hit on and then like leave the realm of the New Gods a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're a pretty big component of the DC universe. And they're also a massive component of just the catalog of Jack Kirby creation.
Oh yeah, this is Jack Kirby's. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do this then.
Yeah. This isn't like, oh, you don't want me to do this in Thor? Well, I'm gonna go across the street.
Oh, well, how about I do this then? This is my big pot of honey.
Why is that your Jack Kirby?
Because I was watching the
He thinks Kirby sounds like Winnie the Pooh for some reason.
because I was watching Kirkman's like history of comics, and every time they showed an interview with Jack Kirby, he sounded like Winnie the Pooh to me. So
But no, he's like a gruff New Yorker.
that's not the clips that I've heard.
Not to
from.
Richard just goes, oh no.
Oh no! Please don't do that.
Well, I think that I would assume AMC, the fine company there, probably just dubbed over Jack Kirby. Like, he sounds too old. Let's get a younger person to do his voice so he doesn't bum our audience out.
Yeah, let's get a young person. Let's grab the guy who does the voice of Winnie the Pooh. You know the way
Hey,
those
Jim Cummings
kids like.
can do any voice.
That's hilarious.
I'm going to sidebar immediately. So one of the things I've been doing over break is like I just needed to have something on, and I've worked my way through too much YouTube, so I jumped over to Hulu, and I'm rewatching and by not rewatching, I just mean having on in the background Ghostbusters Extreme.
Oh my god, I forgot that existed.
Is that a
Because
cartoon?
all
Yes.
40 episodes of it are on YouTube or on
Holy
Hulu,
shit.
and it's pretty good, and the monster designs are great, and there's definitely an episode that's a riff on Hellraiser.
What?
But I didn't realize that Kylie, the OG girl Ghostbuster, had a fucking thick New York accent
Oh.
and was just like, you guys, Slima, get out of my way. Like, I was like, what? She's got like weird 90s tough girl voice.
Oh, weird.
Oh,
I've never even heard of that show before.
Yeah, that's
It's great.
That's Tank Girl as
There was-
the Ghostbuster.
There was a woke Ghostbusters in the 90s that was an excellent cartoon no one watched. But the reason I bring it up, Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, he does a lot of voices in it, but I think he also sings the theme song.
Oh my god,
Because
that's
it's like a slow down alt rock version of the fucking Ghostbusters theme.
I love that.
who you gonna call?
I mean, you're not that. It's like literally a gravelly voice going, "If you're seeing things going through your head," like, yeah,
it's evolution,
it's pretty great.
baby.
I like that song.
That's a song I haven't thought about in a long
Cool Todd
time.
McFarlane music video.
That fucking video rules. That's what got me into that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Same. Fuck you, Jeremy. It's all about that cartoon.
I remember watching that like 2 a.m. on like Much Music or something and being like, I don't know who this is, but I like them.
Wow, I haven't thought about that in a minute.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's Ghostbusters, baby.
Okay, so Fourth World.
Yeah. Fourth World.
I know this is something you've wanted to talk about for a while. Why don't we just
Okay, so our story begins with Stan Lee is a bad man.
pick
Just,
like
you're gonna
pick,
put the Fourth World coin into Kyle and let him
I'm
go.
putting
to-
a Fourth World coin into Kyle, and we're gonna see where it goes.
All right.
What's your first experience with the New Gods?
Yeah.
Okay, my first experience with the New Gods was actually in high school reading the Legion of Superheroes trade paperback, The Great Darkness Saga.
Oh my god!
Which is fun because on the cover for it, or like the comic is all about who is this great darkness that's coming, and spoiler, it's Darkseid. That's less of a surprise because he's on the cover of the book because DC is an insecure company. Really blows the surprise when literally the shot where he appears is like the cover of the book. So you're just like, okay, I have a funny feeling I know who it's going to be. But it was my first exposure to Darkseid and the anti-life equation, and also Matter Eater Lad.
Yeah.
And it was a thing where I was sort of like, this feels like there's a lot. It's so much my early comic book reading is me going like, feels like there's a lot here that I don't have context for.
Right.
Which was kind of like the fun thing about getting way into comics in like the early 2000s is that like you were coming off of a full decade's worth of useless fucking continuity across every company. And
DC?
so like there
Must be talking about a
and,
different company.
like and so they're running through their whole thing like I was saying to Richard, I think it's interesting about the 90s with DC because like with Marvel with 90s stuff is like bad just kind of across the board, like
Right.
Yeah.
the art's kind of ridiculous, the writing is very poor. The irony is many DC books have some phenomenal writing with maybe the worst art I've ever seen. I'm speaking very specifically about Grant Morrison's entire run of of the Justice League, which is some incredible writing with some great references to Death the Black Racer from Fourth World, but is literally embarrassing to look at for more than a minute. Like, it makes my eyes bleed. And it's all, I'm a child of Six Flags, the theme parks that have DC ties to them because they have Warner Brothers Corporation, shit like that. And for many years, that was the cross you always had to bear, is everything at a Six Flags park had 90s DC characters on it. Just had Green Lantern Kyle, the worst looking Green Lantern of all time.
With that big fucking mask.
The mullet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And just like you just look at it and just go like, oh my God, you're in the worst 70s funk band I've ever seen.
That's such a crazy entry point to the New Gods, but I think you're right. And maybe it's like the sort of perfect one, because if you're both sort of, you have the bewilderment of the Legion of Superheroes and what they're about, and the bewilderment of the New Gods and what they're about.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Darkseid for one reason or another. Like, he's like a thing that he is the thing. It's so funny to me because like Thanos in Marvel movies is just what Darkseid actually is in comic books, and Thanos is nothing like that in comic books. But he's just this perpetually shitty dude who's around, and then the second run of like weird ways to get into it is have either of you guys read the comic book Box Office Poison by Alex Robinson?
No, I have not.
It's a really fun book. It's really long, but it's about a bunch of people living in a neighborhood, and one of the subplots is there's a Jack Kirby type character that a bunch of the characters, and there's like a fake version of the Comics Journal in it. And it's a whole thing about artist rights, because it came out I think it came out in the late 90s originally. But like, it's all about getting comic book artists their rights back, and that brought all of the Jack Kirby Marvel stuff to me. And then I had no idea that Jack Kirby worked for DC. Right. So finding that out was one of the first like, oh, DC's got things, outside of Vertigo, and I would see pieces of it, but I feel like a few years ago, I seem to be on sort of a wave of people who all seem to have the same thought of like, Fourth World's kind of cool. Like, there's some weird stuff in here. And like, a lot of it, I think, helped with like Tom King's Mr. Miracle run, which again, I cannot ever say enough things about. And I think that played with it really smart. I think that the way guys like Grant Morrison really try to like work it into their continuity and stuff, I feel like it's a thing that only recently DC has stopped being like lightly ashamed of or like weird about, and has started to like kind of embrace that they have this really cool thing. I mean, I think it's convenient that they're like, we need a space thing, and it's like, oh, we have a thing. Oh wait, I forgot, they stole our thing. And so, like, to me, and anybody who's like listening to this who's like, I still don't understand what the Fourth World is, I do think that I just reread it for another comic book podcast, Ongoing Comic Book Discussion. That's the one I can't swear on. I was trying to remember which is the comic show I can't swear on.
No, we encourage,
because she told it to me like right before we rolled hate, and she was like, is that gonna be a problem? And I'm like, no.
No, Kyle was really quiet.
Yeah. But that Mr. Miracle run, I think, is probably the most accessible thing into Fourth World, because it gives you enough context clues. And then what was fun is, for a minute there was a lot of stuff in that world to explore. There was that ambush bug that was coming out of Young Animal and things like that. There were interesting elements of Fourth World that were being explored. And I think getting something like either the Rock of Ages Death the Black Racer moment, or like the Mr. Miracle Tom King run, or even the Great Darkness saga, like I feel like Fourth World is the thing that you need an in, because like you could just read it in itself, but like I don't know if that's the ideal way to like get it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like reading most, and again, I always hate bringing up the House of Ideas on this show because boo, but like the way maybe a decade, almost 20 years ago now, Marvel put out a trade paperback called Fantastic First, and it was the first issue of all these different characters, because they often in the Silver Age all had their origin stories in their first issues. And it was interesting to read it because it was cool to see all this vintage art and see the origins from where all these characters came from. It was basically every character had an intellectual property. And the first issue of Origin, the Wolverine thing, because fuck you guys. But like, it was funny to read it and go like, oh, this is really interesting. Because on the one hand, this is almost impossible to read because it's so poorly written. But like, there's something visually compelling to it, and there's something about the larger narrative that is really interesting. As soon as like we get somebody else writing any of these things, I bet they get good. And it's fun because that's literally true for every single one of those characters.
Yeah.
Stanley gets credit for creating a lot of stuff, but what he created was ultimately shitty if other people don't show up and make it not shitty.
Well, yeah,
and
I mean,
think
none of the Marvel movies are based on his stories.
Yeah. And I think that the Fourth World's the same way. We're like finding those ins, because then when you see where it comes from and you get that skeleton of like, oh, there's a ton of great ideas in here. Like this guy maybe should have had somebody else working with him to kind of flesh it out. But that role of comic book writers, I don't think existed at the time. That's that mid Bronze Age where they're starting to figure out comics can be really interesting.
Yeah.
But like, not a lot of people are listening to Will Eisner yet. The mainstream is not really acknowledging the way that writing has shifted in like underground comics. But even underground comics in the 60s have a similar problem. Like I look at, X-Men #1, New Gods #1, and Zap #1 with the same level of like, this is kind of hard to read now.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully we will also now be a little bit of like an onboarding thing for people interested
that fourth
in
world
the New
bump.
Gods, because we got a ton of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a thing that it seems daunting, so most people don't really dive in, and so hopefully this is an opportunity.
And it's relatively simple.
Yeah.
Like, I think. Like, because there's whole chunks of shit that like it says are associated that you really only have to know 2 or 3 things on. Like, to me, it's like New Gods and Mr. Miracle are the only things you really have to do. Because even Challengers the Unknown like mostly doesn't matter. And and then like Commandy again doesn't matter. It's got loose ties. And even like Jimmy Olsen, it's to me that's the most fun part, is just the fact that Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen is the place where Fourth World is created originally.
Yeah, it's Darkseid's first appearance as a Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, like 130 something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then he shows
amazing.
up in the first issue of Forever People.
Yeah. Oh, Forever People. That's the other one where it's just like, man, this book.
Yeah.
What if superheroes were hippies?
Yeah, really.
All right, do we want to jump into these questions?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's get into this. Now that I've not answered any of the questions, let's do this.
That's why we bring you on. What I do love was that they
I
voted
just
on
always hope
Fourth
people
World
take it as
on our
like
Patreon, and immediately the first comment underneath is just like, "Well, it's got to be Kyle's, right? Like Kyle's going to be on this."
Yeah,
one.
I know. So I was playing very coy about like the circumstances, but it was very obvious looking at the potential options that we were planning a Kyle episode.
It's I always feel like such an odd relationship with the show, because I always my only real hope at the end of an episode is people go, man, I don't understand what the fuck he said, but he seems to know a lot about comic books.
I mean, that's the best we could ever hope for.
Yeah,
because the problem is always just the center is the least interesting part, but then when you get to the weird shit, that's why all comic books are great, is just the weird stuff and nothing else.
Yeah, DC is secretly very weird.
Yeah.
Yes. On my ongoing comic book discussions, I make my argument that like DC is secretly like the super out there weird freak, and like Marvel is secretly wildly conservative.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
But DC doesn't have to shove it in your face, because DC knows DC isn't a cop.
That's why they created Black Label, so it can seem like they're doing something weird, but that's probably the most like generic ones they're probably going to put out.
It kind of is, yeah.
All right,
let's do it.
First questions are coming from Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
That's right. First question from there comes from Mikey K.
All right.
Who asks, who are the bugs? Are they also New Gods, or are they just regular people that live among them?
They're the working class. They were the people who exist to serve the others, but which is fucked up.
Yeah, but they only serve the New Gods of New Genesis. I'm pretty sure there aren't bugs on Apocalypse. On Apocalypse, the working class are called the lowlies.
Yes.
And on New Genesis, they're called bugs, and they actually like work like insects and live like insects.
Cannot recommend that weird ass Mike Allred ambush bug, or not ambush bug. Bug. Is it just
The
called
Adventures
Bug?
of Forager.
That's it. That book is a lot of fun, and that gives a good sense of like what the deal is with the bug people, which I think is its entire function was them going like, we've created this thing that like we've never addressed in an actual book. It's just been color this whole time.
Well, and the big reveal in that book is that Forager, who also sometimes goes by Bug, discovers in that book that he is not actually a bug. He is a new god.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who was like sent to live among the bugs. They like mask him as a bug, basically, and he lives that way, but he's actually a new god, which, in terms of this question, means no, the bugs are not new gods.
No, they are not.
But they do like inhabit their world. But yeah, they're like worker drones, basically.
Yeah,
so
it
like,
sort of
literally,
even
yeah,
paints
like
the good new gods in sort of like a weird, like, do you have slaves?
Which is why the Tom King book is great, because it paints
Yeah.
everybody as an asshole, which is,
Yeah.
to me, the most interesting part of Fourth World is, like, Jack Kirby is clearly going, like, and what if everybody's a piece of shit because everybody's mean to old Jackie boy?
Yeah, he's working through some stuff.
yeah, you know that guy you think is super
Aggressively
nice?
so.
Yeah, we're gonna call I'm gonna call him Dark Stan. It's like I don't know, Jack. Maybe we should like workshop that name.
On the dark side of Stan. Almost. Yes. No, we're the regular people. We're the bugs. The 1%, that's the new guy.
I mean, wow, so political.
I know. This is this podcast now. You see behind the curtains.
The Dr. Washington DC podcast.
That's right. That's right. The new gods are the 1%.
Don't do your
It's funny because I don't even think that they know how to, like, they're fighting politics in another country. They're always saying Washington. That doesn't affect them.
Yeah, we're safely behind another border.
Yeah.
It's all closed off.
all right,
I couldn't even come to visit if I wanted.
Oh, no. It was all part of your plan. Let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
That's Twitter.
That's right. First question comes from MadSeb77, who asks, "Hello, Doctor. Hello, Richard." Well, no hello to the guest. What a piece of shit. He goes on
That's
to
okay.
say,
I'm taking it personally.
should a New Gods film be made in the style of The Lord of the Rings as a trilogy to fully explore the lore and tie it to the DCU, whatever shape it takes now? Thank you.
I want you to answer this first because I feel like I have a trilogy pitch for this.
You're just like, let's just make it Lord of the Rings. Let's get rid of the New Gods. We'll make another Lord of the Rings.
I think there is a good one in there. I think that for me, the New Gods always work best when they are coloring something else in the DC universe. Because like there's a lot of moving parts. I think you either have to do a movie version that's completely devoid of any other DC stuff and really commit to the deep fantasy of Fourth World continuity stuff. It also probably is going to need like a nice little emotional facelift the way Mr. Miracle did. Like, I think that you'd have to make those characters a little more complex because they really do have that, like, all the stuff that happens in Fourth World that's important feels like shit that you would do in, like, a prologue narrated by Galadriel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and you know, and then take that somewhere else and do something with it. I think that if they wanted to, there's definitely something interesting within there where you could do a, you know, New Gods, you know, Forever People and Dark Side or Apocalypse kind of movie setup, and that there is definitely something interesting within all of that. I'm always wonder, like, because it would be so expensive and it's kind of dorky. And so I always wonder, because like expensive and dorky worked one time super well for 3 movies. And then most of the times when people attempt to go that way, it doesn't work unless you like change out the dorky parts, you know.
Right.
Usually cheap and dorky works.
And even then people are still like, look, I see that you did the like I laughed at Mortal Engine show on HBO because it doesn't seem like it's doing super great.
No.
And like the first Golden Compass was like super dorky and they're like, no thank you, send it back. And then this time they're like, now it's a little cool. Like, we see where you're going with it, but still, you're not there yet. You know,
Yeah.
and I think it's that the problem is like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are so popular that you think that there is a bigger market for that kind of storytelling than there is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is all just me to tear down so I can get my Mr. Miracle movie made.
I think you're kind of leaning the way I am. I'm going to very briefly line up my 3 movie pitch for New Gods, the New Gods trilogy. I think you start with a thing we basically have never talked about on the show, but you start with the Forever People. So the setup of Forever People in the comics is basically that they are a set of New Gods, although briefly they were retconned as humans, but they're new gods that are sent to Earth to sort of like learn about Earth and also protect it. And they all kind of adopt the mannerisms of different like pop culture tropes. So the one is called Seraphin, and he sort of goes around acting like a cowboy. And one is called Viking, and he looks like a Viking. And then there's Big Bear, there's Mark Moonrider, and there's Beautiful Dreamer. So they all have different powers. You know, Beautiful Dreamer can do like illusion casting. Big Bear is strong.
And they all look like goddamn hippies.
They all look like hippies, and they ride around in this thing called the Super Cycle. And yeah, they're basically just like new gods sent to Earth.
God, it's so fucking 60s. Jesus Christ.
So I think that's your first movie. Is you just have these. You have these like protectors sent from somewhere else for reasons unknown that are literally, it's the fish out of water thing. They're learning about us, right?
You're describing the first Thor.
Yes. But that's what I think that's what it is. Which kind of makes sense.
Which is a movie I am a bigger fan of than most people because I think it does a great job mixing the silly with the thing exactly what you're pitching.
Yeah. So that's sort of your first movie. I don't know who your bad guy is in there, but whatever. We start with Forever People. I think your second movie is sort of like a Tom King, Mr. Miracle kind of thing, where we're bridging the gap between Earth and like New Genesis and Apocalypse. We're going back and forth. We're seeing like, oh, no, the connection between these two places is stronger or more intense or more important than sort of first realized. And we're learning more about the actual new gods, where the Forever People had come from and all that stuff. And then your third movie is a full-on like new gods, like it's the battle to end all battles, you know, New Genesis versus Apocalypse. That's your big like Return of the King battle kind of thing.
Okay. I like
that would be my pitch, I think.
I would almost say, can I throw a tweak at you?
Always.
I say you do the Mr. Miracle one first because Mr. Miracle's background has an excuse to work in so much the continuity of what happened in the past.
Right.
And then you
work
do
your way backwards.
The Forever People comes in as the second movie because it's them trying to bring him back after all the drama from the first movie.
That's the reason why he's a writer.
That's it. Thank you for Skyping into this pitch session.
Again, I'll continue my catchphrase, Warner Brothers, hire me for something.
Yeah.
Are we being paper teamed to do a New Gods trilogy?
I mean, yes. You guys are an ampersand, and then I'm an N that is separate.
Whatever, as long as it gets points on the back end.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what arbitration has to say about that.
Is that me? Because I would like it.
Deep inside entertainment shows.
All right, let's go to the next question. Thou hast died from dysentery. The next question comes from Organ Night.
Boo.
It's like Oregon, but
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's like Oregon, but it's I'm running out of ideas here, all right?
What is Organ Night?
Oregon sounds like Oregon. That's as close as I could get for that one. All right. Organ Knight asks, can we get a little rundown of young how is this? Young Euxas? Euxas. Oh, wow. Who's ass? Euxas. Can I get a little rundown of young Euxas' upbringing, like his father and mother?
So, Euxas is Darkseid.
Oh. Let me fucking say that then.
That was his Christian name.
Oh.
He was Euxas. Yeah, a little rundown of him. It's changed a little bit. The New 52 version is slightly different. The New 52 I'm going to start with because it's not the main one, and it's probably not what it is.
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember, if it's New 52, you don't have to care.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the footnote. So, so the New 52 version, Euxas and Isaiah, who is Highfather, are brothers, and they're basically the peasant class working in what you would call the third world, the world of the old gods. And he hates the deities, and the deities don't care about them. They sort of step on them like ants and stuff like that.
It's the bugs of
essentially. Yeah. And then Euxas decides he's going to slay them all, and he does, basically in their sleep,
like a bunch of training Jedis.
It's sort of like the story of Kronos, like in Greek mythology a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he basically gains their power as he kills them, and it transforms him into the sort of rock super god that he becomes. And the last of the old gods gives Isaiah the rest of his power so that Highfather can rival Darkseid.
I know I'm the only one here imagining that the Isaiah is Isaiah Thomas, the basketball player.
Well, now I am.
As long as he's not Isaiah Washington, am I right?
Ooh.
I stand by my choice.
That was the New 52 version. The slight amendment.
That's actually less. That's. I'm gonna put that in the not shitty category for New 52. It's not a full
shitty.
jar, but it's not an empty jar.
It's not shitty, other than the fact that it leaves out Darkseid's like parents, like who are Yuga Khan and Hegra, who are part of the old gods. Darkseid's uncle is Steppenwolf, the bad guy from the Justice League movie.
Yeah, but also that was a mistake.
Well, yes, but like all of these characters, like there's a lot because the New Gods has so much to do with families. There are sons that are swapped,
what? Sorry?
and there are brothers at
Family.
Family.
Yeah,
two gods.
It's got a little too much Tyrese in it.
Never.
But I think because of that, I think the New 52 one is missing something because it's just not. There's not enough of those like familial connections.
Yeah.
Now, in the stuff that you had read, especially if you come in Great Darkness Saga, they don't really bring up people like Yuga Khan or Hegra or stuff.
No, that's
like
why this is interesting listening to what you're going through, because I don't know like the backstory of him. I've just always known him as just like a guy who's just been unpleasant the whole time.
Yeah. He does eventually kill his own father. He puts Yuga Khan in the source wall and traps him there.
Yuga Khan was canceled this year, though.
Boo! Boo! I say boo.
Your jeers just make me stronger.
Num 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 num. I love your hate.
But yeah, there's weird shit too where like Darkseid's mother, Hegra, like didn't like his first marriage and like had her killed. And so Darkseid's first marriage, that's where his son Kalibak comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hegra
And
has
she was,
her killed.
in fact, no Calabac girl.
No, I proved that. That's good.
Oh my
You
God.
fucking
like
set that up, and then both of you were trying. Like, I'm not gonna just run and catch that baseball.
He's on a roll.
God.
And then he, when Darkseid finds out he has his mother killed, and then he becomes the sole ruler of Apocalypse, and then he marries someone else, and then he has Orion as his
Can I ask a
second son.
real specific question? Because I feel like
Yeah.
you might have answers for me.
Sure.
Where does he draft in Granny Goodness then? Like, how do those kids meet? 'Cause
Yeah,
she's
Granny,
like one of his go-to lieutenants.
Granny Goodness. I think in some versions she starts as a lowly, but she's not like related to.
Because that's the other thing with Apocalypse is like they have the lowlies, but are the lowlies is not where Barda comes from. Because there's the whole like warrior class of people Apocalypse has that's kind of like unique to itself.
The lowlies, I think in some cases some of them get the opportunity to like gladiate themselves like into higher positions.
Okay, I assumed that, but I wasn't sure if that was like a thing. Because it is weird that like again, the more you look at it, like Apocalypse is a nightmare place, but it actually has some like functional social liquidity.
Yeah, it's best not to look too closely.
Whereas the New Gods themselves are just like, well, look, we just have a slave class, and that's just kind of how this is gonna go.
Well, and the thing too is like, I mean, even on like a structural level, like Darkseid's palace and all of the things on Apocalypse are on Apocalypse. New Genesis, the bugs live on the planet, and all of the New Gods live in a floating city called Supertown.
Yeah, don't look at the
Yeah.
people working very hard behind the curtain.
Yeah. I mean, there's
And
some
again, what
gray
that
area.
says about Jack Kirby is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit, I didn't even put yeah. Jesus.
That's part of what makes Fourth World so fun is it is lightly a look inside of Jack Kirby's id in the mid 70s.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, it is ultimately a
Or
story
early
of good and
70s.
evil, but his point is that like there are elements of both on both planets. Like on Apocalypse, there are good people among the lowlies that are just stuck there, right? That want to like, isn't it Hyman or
Yeah.
Oberon that
Oberon, yeah.
that Mr. Miracle meets when he's like growing up on Apocalypse? There are good people among.
Or no,
the,
Oberon
like,
he meets
fire
on
pits.
Earth, I believe.
Sorry.
Doesn't he? Or does he meet? I thought he meets Oberon at the circus, but that
No,
could
you're
be a
right.
different
Oberon's on
time of
Earth,
story.
but I think it's Hyman.
That's it. Yeah.
The one that he meets.
Because
on
there was
Apocalypse.
somebody, but like, because I love me some Oberon, just a cigar chomping little guy, and you're just like, does he have powers? Like, no, he's just a weird, salty old man who's very small.
He's his manager.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Sure.
What's that sound? Oh, it's the scream of a donkey. It must be morning. That's right. The next question comes from Braydon. That's right. Braydon.
No, I'll wait. Go ahead, please. No, I have no thoughts on this at all, Richard. None. It's fun because it's like Reed is like trying to read my thoughts.
I just really like.
We're like sharing
I like
a moment.
I like watching Richard try to supplicate himself for your approval.
Well, what's fun with Richard is like Richard is very funny, but like when Richard goes to write a joke, he wants to make sure that you know that he worked really hard on it instead of it just being like funny. He wants that participation trophy more than he wants to actually succeed.
Richard likes to show his work.
Oh,
yes, very much so.
Move that spotlight. I've been seen.
That's hilarious.
Braydon asks, what is the origin story of the Omega Sanction? Is it something Darkseid was born with? Or maybe it's Maybelline. No, or something he adopted.
This is not to be confused with the Omega Sessions, the incredible Bad Brains EP.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, it's got to be. Also, when you talk and smoke's coming out of your mouth, it makes you look like a little bit of a dragon, and it's kind of cool.
Richard, dragons aren't real.
I have to make some phone calls.
Now who's being naive? Anyways, I actually don't know.
Okay,
Do you?
But
Doctor.
Yeah, so the Omega beams.
Their doctor in the house.
If you've seen Darkseid in animation at all, like on the Superman cartoon or in like those animated movies or whatever, he's got eye beams, but they're not like Superman's heat vision because they like move at like angles and move around and can target things and stuff like that. And they basically vaporize anything they touch.
Is that a 90s invention, those eye beams?
I don't think so. I think he had them.
Oh, so they've always had that. Okay. I guess that makes sense too, because like when you look at like the way the art is designed, that like that weird angular kind of thing makes a lot of sense because that's what he was way into.
It totally fits in. So it's all part of a power that he has called the Omega Effect. The Omega Sanction is like a sub power, and where you see that happen, the Omega Sanction is the thing that sent Bruce Wayne back in time. It basically, I think he refers to it as the death that is life, where basically it will send you through many lifetimes until you hate living.
Is that what happened to us?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. This is our Omega Sanction.
Did we get through too many episodes of this podcast until we don't want to live anymore?
Yeah.
That happened number one.
I think on our last episode, in addition to killing ourselves on air, we should also release the anti-life equation.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag sweet release.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, now, is it something he was born with?
That sentence is why this is my favorite comic book podcast.
We openly talk about killing ourselves.
Because it's in the last episode before we kill ourselves on air, let's release the anti-life equation. The levels of like weird and dark and nerdy all at work in that one moment.
Yeah. It's both metal
something really
and
special.
super uncool.
Dorky and depressing is generally what we go for.
Now, it's not necessarily a thing only Darkseid can do. Darkseid's daughter, Grail, who is half Amazon, has use of the Omega Effect. And when Darkseid was killed in Darkseid War and Lex became the god of Apocalypse, Lex got the Omega Effect.
I heard there's cream for that.
And that supports my theory of why the DC universe should very rarely interact with the New Gods world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I kind of agree with that.
It was such a short-lived thing too. It never went anywhere.
No.
A cool thing from that where it did interact and it made kind of sense is that when Darkseid died, it disrupted the connections to all of the gods, and Shazam's powers wavered, and the wizard had to very hastily get him the powers of different gods.
That was fucking rad.
So he ended up, like, the H was for Hronmir, like the Martian god of fire. The Z was for Zonus, which is another name for Yuga Khan. So he got source manipulation powers. That was pretty cool.
I mean, that's fucking cool, yeah.
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 But yeah, I think the short answer to this is the Omega beams that Darkseid has. He can control them, but it's not something that is unique to him. There's precedent both for genetically passing it on and also not genetically passing it on, because Calabac can't do it and Orion can't do it, and also for someone else to just inherit it. It's almost like it's kind of also tied to like the Throne of Apocalypse a little bit.
I also heard that it can sit on objects for like up to 14 days. So
what?
So other people can catch it. Huh?
Did you see the
You're
work
Making
there,
a
guys?
coronavirus joke?
Yeah. You look at me like that. Let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
Oh, by the
No.
way, Fourth World doesn't mean anything as far as the title goes. We should establish that for listeners who don't know this. Fourth World is just a thing that he thought sounded cool.
Yeah, that
Are you guys aware of this?
Well, it kind of means something, but it's pretty tenuous. Because the first world was meant to be. Oh god, we talked about this in a previous episode. I had to look it up though. The first world was like meant to be like the initial creation. The second world was meant to be like the children or the seedlings of those original like proto gods. The third world
was the one that got
like,
destroyed in the battle.
the third world was going to be, well, when Kirby was working for Marvel, it was going to be,
It was going to be Asgard.
actually no, Asgard's the first world. That's what it is. Asgard's the first
what it is.
world. And then it gets destroyed, and the second world is something that comes after it. And then, oh fuck, listen to our Old Gods episode because I did have to look this up. But essentially, it's meant to be like generationally what the gods are. Technically, our pantheons, like Olympians and Norse gods and stuff like that, the way we perceive them, are all third world. They're all meant to be those quote unquote old gods. It's, oh yeah, his version of Asgard was called like Ugrund or something. That's the first world.
Oh shit. Okay.
But yeah. But yes, I mean, for practical purposes, fourth world doesn't mean anything. They're space gods.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the next question.
Listen, you have
fans
Kyle
are
and
happy
me on
about
an
that,
episode.
Richard.
Stuff's going to get talked about.
Okay. Normally, I do not want. I want no pigeon, but I do want this one because it's Ryan Pigeon. Do you not know?
Were you trying to quote that Sporty Thieves song?
Yes. It's the response to the Scrubs song was.
Richard,
I don't
we're
want
the
no
only
pigeon.
people in the world who remember this song. I tried to
There was
explain this song to my
There was a
girlfriend a few
response
weeks
song
ago.
to Scrubs.
There was a response song?
where the
Yes.
other version is pigeons, which is the girl
I don't want
version
no
of
pigeons from
Scrubs.
Sporty Thieves was the gender flip, that a
Right.
pigeon is a lady scrub.
Yeah.
Right, because the thing you don't want to look for in a lady is someone who will shit on your car.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. When you
Very
upset a woman,
true.
that's what you have to worry about, right?
Jesus Christ.
There was a whole run there of like ill-advised dude-centric song parodies for all the lady empowerment pop of the
I
late
do
90s.
remember
So there
that.
was "Where's
Oh.
My Dog's At" as a
Oh, yeah.
response to "Where My Girl's At."
Yeah. They did. There's been a lot. I also remember that one where the girl, there was a girl that like wrote a breakup song, and then
Yes, it was called, oh, shit. I forget what the first one was called, but the response one was called Fuck You Right Back.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah. Was that a Canadian thing?
I don't remember.
Oh,
but it was
shit.
when I was in university.
Sounds Canadian.
I do
Yeah.
remember that.
It was awesome. It was a rap thing. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this question comes from Ryan Pigeon, which I do want, who asks, I won't hear this. I won't hear this till I catch up. But could you explain Darkseid's action figures in countdown to Final Crisis?
All right. Wait. So is this a specific? Are they talking a DC Direct figure? I will look this up.
Have you seen those before, Kyle?
I have not.
No, they're not.
I'm
They're not talking about real world action figures. There's like some shots in those stories of Darkseid with like a chessboard full of looks like figures of the people he's about to be fighting or coming into conflict with.
Oh.
It's
Well, he is a collector.
I mean, yeah.
Enter the Collector.
Doom take him out of the box.
I just assume that Darkseid is a fan of DC Direct and the quality sculpting they do.
yeah. Darkseid's got a shelf in the back room with a bunch of McFarlane toys on it.
He's got that weird run of Preacher figures and like
Yeah,
That
he's
old,
got
that
the
John
he's got the Han
Constantine one that
Solo
doesn't
toy
look good
for
now.
when it was modeled on Kurt Russell. I don't think these action figures actually do anything. It's not like he's actually manipulating them. I think it's just meant to be a metaphor. From my reading of it, it's not like he has some sort of weird like. It's not like that Despero thing from like the Silver Age from the Justice League where he's playing a game of chess with the Martian Manhunter and as the players fall, the Justice Leaguers will die or whatever. It's not like that. I think it's only a metaphor. I'm pretty sure.
It's also DC has gotten really fun with being real meta with their like product placement within their books.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean Mr. Miracle just wearing T-shirts with the logos of all of
just
his
has
like
the shitty Target Green Lantern shirt.
yeah.
It's kind of great though. I sort of love that.
It would be like if I showed up to work wearing a shirt of you.
That hasn't happened yet?
No.
It's just on your mugs.
That's true. It is
Yeah.
on my mug.
They make Richard Eaton T-shirts up in Canada, and I don't know about this.
Oh yeah, it's a
I didn't
high
realize the
quality
company was doing so well that like when you go to a Target in Canada, like there's like Saved by the Bell and like Martin Lawrence on a T-shirt, and then Richard Eaton from Stranger Things.
product. I mean, now we got some good ideas.
Yeah, my short version, I'm sorry, this is a disappointing answer, I think, but I don't think there's anything really tangible to those figures. I mean, It's definitely a metaphor. You could maybe make the argument that it's something like meant to be metatextual, that maybe because Darkseid's operating on a higher plane of existence, this is some sort of visual representation of how he manipulates our events, but I don't think it's like an actual thing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on then. Next question comes from our favorite religious representative, Chris Chan, who asks the disappointment.
So I need to get an inhale to get the full sigh.
That was a death rattle. He's dead.
It just makes me feel like I'm back at home. Just disappointment. Chris asks, going to take this opportunity to ask you for your thoughts about Tom King's Mr. Miracle.
Oh, this is where Kyle comes alive.
That's right. But I didn't enjoy it as much as I didn't think it took any of the ideas/themes that Jack Kirby had about the Fourth World. It felt more like a vehicle for King to speak about depression, PTSD, etc. He did a good job of it, but he could have said those same things with any character and achieved the same result. The Fourth World was just window into his history.
Was just window dressing.
But I also feel like you can say that with almost every good comic book arc. Like, is that the ultimate secret to the issue with comics in general is that like the good ones have good storytelling, and it wouldn't matter because like comic book continuity ultimately doesn't matter unless you do something clever with it.
Moving on.
Well, no, I think he's right. I think he's given it a little short shift on like what he did with Fourth World, because I think he tried to modernize Fourth World, because I think Fourth World is something that fundamentally feels so old. It's the same problem Legion of Superheroes has, and it's the same reason that Legion of Superheroes is unpopular in the same way the Fourth World is like I think there are Bronze and Silver Age concepts that just comics, even mainstream middle of the road superhero comics, have just completely outgrown. And if you look at like the work Mark Waid did on The Flash, or the controversially the work that like Grant Morrison has done on Batman, or what any number of people have done with Superman over the years and stuff like that, I think that what has been interesting in the last 20 years or so of comics is that quality control showed up, and so like the quality of writer you're getting is and the comfortableness that an editorial staff at a comic book company has is a little stronger. And I think that that's not always like, I think that's that ebbs and flows, but I think that like I fully agree with what he's saying. I think you could say that same argument then for like the version of Daredevil that Frank Miller creates, does not have a ton of similarity to the one that Stan Lee created in the 60s. At the same time, like that doesn't mean that Frank Miller's Daredevil is not one of the best things humans have accomplished, but at the same time, like that arc's fucking great. And like even when I want to write off Frank Miller and Daredevil and Marvel, I'm still like, nope, it's still fucking airtight. This is
true.
Good
it's
superhero
true. It's basically
comic.
that run in Daredevil Yellow. It's the only ones that I really like. But
yeah. And I mean, and even Yellow is the same thing. Where kind of one of the things that I think has made Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's experiments in Silver Age rewrites has been the way that they've taken stuff that was absolutely not part of the intent of what Stan Lee was writing and doing that. And I think like I think I would be more. I'm trying to think of the right words, because I think that like what he is saying is incredibly true, but I think of all of the continuities to operate off of, I don't think Jack Kirby even had a overwhelmingly wild sense of what he was doing with it. So that's part of what I think has made Fourth World so interesting over the years, is that like you were kind of given a blank canvas with a lot of options, but not a lot of structure for what to do with them.
Yeah.
And I think that, even us talking about it here, we've interpreted it as like, oh, the good class has a slave culture. Like you can either not deal with that or you can deal with it. Mr. Miracle is, so much of what hit that book for me is that, I mean, besides the fact that, like, as a person who suffers from pretty brutal depression, he fucking nails that aspect of it.
Yes.
But I think that, like, have you guys read The Sheriff of Babylon?
Yeah.
I think that what it did do that was interesting was taking a guy who has like real life experience in the world. He is not a guy who's like, I always wanted to write comics. He's like, I wrote for the CIA and I saw some fucked up stuff in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And bringing that kind of like modern post 9/11, world of modern culture into comic books in a way that's not, it's extreme and he shoots Robert De Niro in the fucking face. Like,
yeah.
It is a way that's like taking, because like I think Sheriff Babylon is a book that just kind of blows my mind that somebody published it, because it's such an amazing piece, and it really is like holding a lot of people responsible for things that have been fucked up that have happened in the world in a way where it's just like, oh, this is not a guy with a tinfoil hat. This is a former CIA operative going like, hey guys, it's complicated.
Yeah.
And I think that bringing that to the DC universe, and especially to Fourth World, to me, more than negating what Jack Kirby was doing, to me, like, gives it a sense of superstructure that nobody has been able to do with Fourth World, and found an empathetic way in. And for me personally, again, I am somebody who totally empathizes with somebody when they're just like, it's breaking from continuity, because I know that is a thing where it's like, if it breaks from continuity in a way that you don't dig, you're sort of just like, well, this is fucking up my book I love. And I think that is a valid thing. I think I would ask, like, was the 1980s New Gods a good enough book to justify staying that and slavishly adherent? And most of that book is just making shit up. And like, I think the difference is that like it does it with a Silver Age kind of tone, because the 80s is not that far from the Silver Age vibe wise, especially at DC at that time. And so I think that like there's something to it, but I think like I think that they're like what he's doing with that is making DC feel relevant in modern society and recontextualizing the interesting ideas that Jack Kirby had there, but putting them in a way where it feels relevant to how we consume media and storytelling now.
Yeah, I mean, and you touched on this too, is that Jack Kirby didn't necessarily have like a roadmap for everything. Like, we saw that when we talked about Commandy. I think it's also true of New Gods, and there's stuff in there like
I'd say it's
there's
maybe
a slave.
truest in New Gods.
Well, yeah, and the fact that there's like a slave class on New Genesis, or that there are good people among the lowlies on Apocalypse, it's already sewn in there that it's, even though it's about good and evil, it's also like, it's in there and it's recognized by Kirby on some level that it's not that simple. And I think that's I mean, you could, I guess, say that it doesn't, that Tom King's Mr. Miracle doesn't just pick up on Kirby's, I mean, it certainly doesn't pick up on Kirby's tone, but it's definitely picking up on some of the groundwork of Kirby's work that Kirby just never got to. But
do you know what's the other thing that's interesting is what it totally is tonally, to me, from the first time I read it, felt like a sequel to, and it's something that I think about a lot, and I think is a single issue that gets passed by a lot, is in the first volume of Sandman, there is a section where he's having to get his shit back after he's gotten out of confinement. And one of the first people he meets is Scott Free. And he's in Scott Free's nightmare as a child running through Apocalypse and being abused by Granny Goodness. And I feel like Gaiman years ago in like 80 whatever set the template for how to write Mr. Miracle in a way that I think was hard for people to crack. And he seemed to have there's certain writers seem to kind of look at Mr. Miracle and get how deep that character can go and play with the like emotional psychology of because like there's so much continuity to it that you can't really add a ton of continuity, but you can explore how fucked up that continuity is and then make that emotionally compelling. And I think Neil Gaiman did a really good job of that. I think that Grant Morrison in Seven Soldiers of Victory did a really good job of that. I think that parts of like some of the revival Mr. Miracle stuff over time has gotten there. I think some people just want him to be like a Hanna-Barbera escape artist who solves mysteries, which is fun and I think would be a great cartoon in the 80s, but I think like even now if you tried to sell that, like kids don't care about the circus, no one gives a shit about escape artists, so like it's sort of the same problem you have with trying to upgrade Ghost Rider, where like the jobs they have are not really jobs we have anymore. Like nobody is a Daredevil anymore. Let alone a Satan worshipping Daredevil. Like in the same way, like Mr. Miracle, like no one cares about what his job is. So you have to find ways to update it, you know, while still holding true to it. And I think that like people over time have figured that out. But I think like Gaiman, you know, was so clever with so much, especially in those early Sandmans when he's like, hey, this book's going to be like a goth Fantasia, but we're going to throw about 10 really great superhero cameos within this to just remind you that like, you know, you're still reading this book. And like, you know, just because the book tries to get you to buy this Tori Amos CD and this Nine Inch Nails shirt doesn't mean that you can't still love comics, friend.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fuck.
Yeah. I feel like I know dick about comics, and then I'm on the show and start talking like, oh, that's right, I like these.
Yes. Yeah, just very specific pieces that you really enjoy, I think. But you've got general knowledge for pretty basic.
Oh, by the way, for anybody listening who doesn't know, shout out to Strange Brain Parts, the incredible fucking YouTube channel that does like basically weekly or bi-weekly comic book history dives. They're between 10 and 30 minutes long each, and they are incredible. And he is a nice, friendly, kind of sarcastic Canadian man who makes them. And
there can only be one.
Yeah, well, I'm cutting this out.
It's a one-man hour. You guys should get him on the show. I think it would be amazing. But shout out to anybody who wants follow up. He's done a lot of Fourth World and a lot of pieces based on that. And just that he does these just truly incredible pieces. He has a 7-part series on fucking Grendel. He has like a 5 or 6 part series on the legal battle of owning Miracle Man, the DC or the British character. Like there's a ton of great stuff in there. And that's some of my stuff I've been able to pick up as far as like vintage Fourth World was kind of directed through that, because he's done ones on I think all of Fourth World at this point.
Wow.
And we're back.
Yeah, that was what a great ad that was.
Strange Brain Parts.
Next question comes from Ryan Putney. Who asks,
Putney on the Ritz, am I right?
Don't be Richard.
There can only be one.
That's such sincere advice.
Wow. I'm not going to lash out. I would like
he's stealing your bit, man. I'm defending it for you, if nothing else. Defend your bits, as shitty as they are.
I stand by what I say, but there can only be one. I choose the ones that are deserving.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm still working on that bot that's just going to replace you. We've done enough episodes. I'm sure I could feed it into something.
You give the DC wiki life.
Yeah. We're already in end times. Maybe that'll turn into Terminator. Who knows?
Jesus.
Ryan asks, I would like to get your thoughts on Darkseid's relationship with Superman. Why do the two characters have such great chemistry together when it comes to the cartoons, animated films, and comics?
Because they're the same guy.
Ooh.
Oh.
They recognize that in each other.
Okay, go on.
Because they're both these like godlike creatures that feel ultimately, whether they admit it or not, above the people around them. And like both see the other side as and they just they behave weird around each other, because it's the only time where you're ever like, oh, I'm around like a person who like I get in a way that like humans don't get.
Okay. Follow-up question. Do you like, is that a sincere belief of yours about Superman, that he does consider himself above?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not just different, but above.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
a very different
How
take on
could you
Superman.
not?
Because that's the whole.
That's my whole thing. That's what makes Superman good. Is like Superman chooses to be good every day when he could rule the whole world.
Right, but is that not evidence that he doesn't consider himself above us?
Because if you didn't think that people were on the same level as you, then you would basically their lives wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, if he thinks he's above us, then what is it that stops him?
Because he has like a paternal desire to like protect the planet that he has lived on since it's the place where he is operating.
I will say there are a lot of versions of Superman that do fit that mold. Red Sun Superman, 100% is like that. Very like listen, leave it to me, I got this kind of.
Yeah. I think that to me, that's always been the only way I've been able to enjoy Superman as a character is when you realize like, oh, he is making efforts all day, every day to like be who he is.
Right.
It's like Dexter when he's constantly like, don't kill your sister. Don't kill your sister.
It's not quite
Yes,
like that.
Yeah,
kind of. Like it is a little bit like that.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Interesting.
You know, and it's funny because when you go into any other else world, like Superman is never the chill bro in any world except for this specific universe. You know,
yeah.
I mean, that's
and when you get to like Kingdom Come territory where he's literally just like you know, even the fact that like he lets himself live as Clark Kent and lives in an apartment instead of just fucking booking it to the Fortress of Solitude every day.
There is a bit of Dr. Manhattan in there, yeah.
This feels like the Simon King episode where I was like, oh, do I not like Superman?
Is Superman suddenly working as like a real estate scam with Lex Luthor?
I'm trying to what's the issue number? Because there's the moment I loved Superman was a very specific issue of Action Comics, and everybody listening already knows which one it is, and they're rolling their eyes. I'm gonna find it. Because
it's funny because for me it was Superman for all seasons. It's a very different take.
I mean,
it's Action Comics 775, the story of the Big Three.
Oh yeah.
Like that is truly one of the better things, and just I love that at the end he's just like, look, I could play by your rules. See, I just did everything, but I worked double hard to like not kill all of you in the process of stooping to your level because I choose to be this good of a guy.
It's constantly
and that's why
holding
I'm
back.
me. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean,
because Superman could punch your skeleton out in one hit, and instead like
considering
takes
we're
you to the
constantly
police
finding out that
because
he's
he
just a little bit
allows.
stronger than we thought. Yeah.
I don't disagree because all of those things are true, but I think I always just read Superman as genuinely believing himself to be equal, but just acknowledging that he has abilities that we don't.
Is that
I don't think I can read, at least not our prime continuity Superman. I don't think I can read him as acknowledging how powerful he is.
I think it's innately the very American and a very Canadian ways of looking at this.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, but I also think like the fact that he's raised in Smallville is the reason he sees value in stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
guess
the Red
so.
Sun thing.
Because
You
I mean,
raise
if
him
you
in
think,
any.
look at America. Only the good things come from
There's
the heartland.
lots of stories where Jor-El is kind of a bad dude too, but like at the same time, I sort of want to believe that even the stuff that he's learned about Krypton and his Kryptonian heritage, that it's not only that he landed at the Kent's farm that he is like that. I mean, it's a big part.
It's a large,
but I think I want to believe that it's not. But to Kyle's point, the bits that I do agree with is, I mean, there's the final episode of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon has this awesome Superman monologue. Now, this is a little bit just punchy, but it's the same principle where he says, I have to walk through this world like it's made of cardboard. I have to be careful all the time. I need to make sure no one gets hurt when I'm around, but you can take it. And he says it to Darkseid, and basically he has this monologue about how he's going to just cut loose on Darkseid. And it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's certainly physically, and I think the best versions of their fight also pits them like morally opposite. Like, I know Highfather is technically meant to be the opposite of Darkseid, but lots of versions of Highfather are that sort of like the thing we were talking about the Jedi, where he's sort of like a calcified good, like, or a compromised good. And Superman, I think, more than Highfather, is like a good.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a great sort of way to pit,
Yeah.
you know, Darkseid and Superman against each other, I think.
Yeah.
Superman, good dude.
All right, let's move on.
Clark, are you sure this is the article you want to go with?
Yeah, we're really trying
Just
to
seems
break.
to be three and a half pages of you just talking about how Superman seems like a pretty chill bro, and maybe we should all like tip him or something.
Am I naive? Am I just bad at reading Superman?
Is this one of those things
No,
where you
I
want
think-
me to tell you the truth or no?
I think you're just fundamentally Canadian, and as somebody who feels Canadian at heart on some level, I understand, and you know, it's just this is why you guys are just up there hanging out,
No doubt about it.
Oh, that's right.
just going like we gotta vote for the Juno Awards.
Oh, they were canceled.
Yeah,
too.
they were canceled.
Oh no!
Yeah. That was a sad day.
Yeah.
Did Richard tell you about the time that
it was like the NHL suspended operations like 6 hours later in Saskatchewan? They were like, we've isolated the coronavirus.
Have you guys heard about what hockey's been doing, by the way?
No.
I love that I get to ask this to two Canadians. This is fun.
I like that you have the answer and we don't.
Many pro hockey teams are running NHL 2K20 simulations of the season, and their
amazing.
teams are reporting on it.
That's amazing.
And they're broadcasting some of the just simulation games from NHL 2K online.
That's
like
incredible.
It's the season.
I think we're going to watch that tonight.
Jeez. Speaking of what sports people are doing, is your brother just like curled up in a corner, like rocking back and forth? Or
we got him. I just gave him Resident Evil 2, the remake. So he's
You have a
his way through
sports
that.
brother?
yeah, his brother's very much into basketball.
What?
I've been laughing because I've been listening to some of the sportscasts he likes because it's all everybody's
Bill
having
Simmons?
to figure out how to get weird. There's like great story. Bill Simmons had Malcolm Gladwell on, was breaking out, and had a really dark but really interesting podcast about the spread of disease and stuff like that. And at the very end, he says to Craig, or Malcolm Gladwell says to Bill Simmons, like, "Hey, I got a question now that you've asked me all these questions. Do you have 17 guys whose job it is to write about basketball? What are they going to do?" And he just puts out a long exhale and goes, "It's going to get weird. It's going to get real weird."
Oh my God. That's so grim.
He's like, every idea somebody's pitched that we said was too weird just got greenlit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
very funny.
Resident Evil 2. We just
But I
got
think-
it
Yeah.
too.
It's
I'm
great.
Resident Evil 2 is
I got Doom Eternal, and it's awesome when it's not the shittiest platforming game ever made. Shooting,
what
100% great.
Not to
The
further this
traversing,
tangent,
awful.
but I recently rewatched that Doom movie.
Oh my
The
god.
Rock one?
Yeah.
There's a new one on Amazon or on Netflix.
What?
Yeah, there's another Doom movie that's
Is it a
quietly
sequel?
sitting on Netflix. I don't know. I have not watched it yet. I'm thinking about it.
Are you going to be playing that Doom 64 that's about to get released on Switch?
It came out. It came with my copy of PlayStation on PlayStation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as a pre-order bonus or something.
Oh, that's rad. Have you played it yet?
No, just been playing Doom Eternal and Vermintide too.
Nice. Oh, your podcast. We're leaving Twitter and heading on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Was that the first one or the last one you wrote?
I think this was the last one to,
Yeah.
Okay.
solidify. Yeah.
Because you can tell that I was curious whether you got better at them over time or worse. Because the Instagram one is so much better than the other two. It's
Yeah.
longer. It's got backing support
I think
snaps.
it's strictly coincidental that the more recent one was better. I think it was just it was random. It was a crapshoot.
Because the Instagram is really your fucking Sergeant Pepper. Like you've been doing these good songs, then you really like change the world.
Thank you.
I like to think of it as my terror.
The
hawk.
Twitter one is like our hard day's night.
God damn it. All right. First question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Come on now.
Oh, yeah. Gill.
Sexy Gil.
Oh, God, yeah. It's the only one we really get real creepy on.
You guys are harassing him like he's a James Boyle.
Oh, yeah. I kind of harass him the way that you used to harass me, I think, on This Is Rad. I think that's what it is, basically.
Okay.
So we're waiting for Josh to start a podcast and then occasionally have us on as a guest. And just continue the chain.
Yeah.
You're both coming on Rad very soon.
Oh.
It's eating Richard up inside.
Oh,
One
he
of
was,
these- I'm
in
literally
the middle
never
of date
going to
night
be
last
just
night. I'm
me
trying to
on
talk
This Is
Richard
Rad.
off the fucking ledge.
Yeah.
I don't have topics. I've never been on a podcast before.
God damn it. It was just too close to the sun. I didn't realize.
What does Josh ask?
We were joking that earlier that literally I'll never get to be on This Is Rad alone. Like
I think that's my favorite recurring bit.
yeah,
of This Is Rad.
It's gonna be that the Earth is gonna end. It's gonna be like post-apocalyptic and deep inside a bunker, and yet somehow still it'll be just This Is Rad.
It'll be
me.
Richard and another guest.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh yeah, here's the wastelander that we found outside. Yeah, yeah.
It's Richard Eden, but you'd never guess we found Craig Robinson alive outside.
Damn
So it's even like the world's most entertaining man you're competing with.
I can't go wrong. Yeah.
Look, he's got his little towel and everything.
Josh asks, does Mr. Miracle have godlike strength or agility, or is his only power the power to escape from any trap?
Escape, and then he's just ripped.
I don't think he's got particular godlike strength. I do think he's got like the new god like durability, like, you know, he could take a punch from someone tougher than a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
remember when you get the old trading cards and they have their like stats on the back, and you'd get like somebody who's like, you know, Officer Dave from Spider-Man is like fighting ability 1, you know, and then like Sabretooth is like an 11, and you're just like, oh, he just murdered that man.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Miracle must have godlike agility, because the agility must be tied in with the escape artistry, right?
Because I assume it only works when he's escaping.
Yeah, because dodging is a form of escaping. You're escaping the path of a bullet.
I mean, yeah,
it's
draft dodging.
It's like having good luck for a power.
Sorry,
like it's
Mr.
like,
Miracle's
what does
a
the
draft
story
dodger?
need?
The most ultimate escape he did was Vietnam.
Bone spurs.
Yeah.
Good God. Yeah, I don't think he's got god strength. I would say agility, though. And the ability to escape has become a power over time. When, like, the original Mr. Miracle series, he just, like, learned escape artistry. He was just very good at it. It wasn't like he was the god of freedom like he is now, right? Like...
Well, that to me would be when you do a first movie, is like you have the original Mr. Miracle, like putting like the things that he had to do to survive in the apocalypse into a context for like this job.
Yeah.
You know, and then when Kevin Costner says to him, like, it feels to me like you've been escaping your whole life, you know, and then he gets murdered.
Did you just cast Kevin Costner as Oberon?
I did. No, not as Oberon, as like the guy who teaches him.
Thaddeus
the original
Brown?
Mr. Miracle, who then gets his ass fucking killed.
Right.
So like I'm just doing, I'm just trying to fix DC actors.
Right. Danny DeVito as Oberon.
Putting them in other roles.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be fun. I mean, that's definitely the way to go.
Luke Evans as Kanto.
Him or like, wait, hang on though. Let me give you a very, very controversial way to pitch Oberon. We wait another 10 years on this movie.
Okay.
And then we cast Wee Man from Jackass in his older years.
Oh my God.
Come back. He's our reclamation project, and he wins an Oscar.
Yeah.
And they're like, and the award goes to Wee Man.
Wee Man.
Mr.
Still
Miracle.
goes by Wee Man.
That's like him. That's like doing The Wrestler. It's like, he's back, baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Jesus.
I love that.
That's incredible.
He's always wearing chronic taco shirts, even though he's old.
Does he
Old
still
people can't
own
wear
that
taco
company? Is
shirts.
that company still around?
Chronic Taco? He owns it.
Yeah. It's still around?
I don't know. I think I saw one in San Diego, but it could be a rogue one that's just still open.
I mean, that sounds like where it would still exist. Yeah. All right. Next question.
Let's do it.
I was going to come up with something for this, but I feel like it would be racist. So I'm just going to say it. Caballero Frankenstein.
It's Caballero. You know it's Caballero.
Nope. If I say Caballero.
Isn't Caballero Frankenstein Jeffrey Rush's character in Mystery Men?
No, that's Casanova Frankenstein.
Casanova Frankenstein.
Oh.
That's my second favorite character, crazy character name in a movie, only to Pumpkin Escobar.
Oh, amazing!
Wow, that is incredible.
What does Caballero Frankenstein ask?
I keep wanting to do something for this character. Yeah, I know.
Well, here,
It's
I'll do a bit instead. I'm imagining beloved pro skateboarder Steve Caballero, but dressed as Frankenstein.
Do a kickflip.
Yeah, and then he shreds.
There we go. Now I got
Something
it.
Spike Jones will
Now
direct.
it's not racist. Are there any religions based on the new gods? If yes, do they gain any power from the worship?
That actually feels like he just tapped into a like arc that DC has been like
yet to do.
sitting on. Like that feels like any book in DC could have cultists that are, instead of Cthulhu worshippers, they're like weird new gods worshippers.
Well, do the bugs worship the new gods?
Well,
like,
I'm going to try and answer this in terms of like Earthbound, because like there are lots of people on Earth
Great
that
game.
believe in different things
Oh.
in DC, and it does empower their gods.
Yeah.
I have a half answer to this because it's an idea that sort of gets touched on, but not explored as fully as you would like. So there's a group called the Cult of Crime, and this is sort of in the lead up to Final Crisis and things like that. They have this thing called the Crime Bible, which is not it's not explicitly about the new gods. It's sort of
my Bible.
it's if you
Got to it first. God damn it.
if you imagine the Bible and then when you get to Cain and Abel, you side with Cain. That's what their Bible is. So the crime Bible is basically like
it's the Bible that uses the word pimpin' way more.
It's the worship of evil. And so this cult of crime basically worships this crime Bible, but they are sort of run and manipulated by Intergang, which is an organized crime society that is backed by Apocalypse. So Intergang is, we've talked about them in a relatively recent episode, I think. They're just organized criminals. They're not like, they don't have superpowers.
No, it's
but
members of the James Gang and whatever, the Interpol.
Yeah.
As a rock supergroup.
But they're given
not worth it. I'm sorry.
Apocalyptian tech. They're given like mother boxes and like pain matrices and all of these like sort of Kirby-esque pieces of technology from Apocalypse. So there's a connection between Darkseid and the New Gods and Apocalypse and Intergang, and then a connection between Intergang and the Cult of Crime. But they never 100% closed the loop. Libra, who was leading the secret society of supervillains during Final Crisis, has a very like religious, fanatical sort of air and approach, and is a servant of Darkseid. That's about as close as it gets. But we never really get to see like, what if there are people like painting like Omega symbols like in a basement and they summon Darkseid, or like we never get to see like the formal connection between the worship and the power.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think it's fertile ground. Someone should do it. Someone should go back to that well, because the foundations I think are there, but we've never really delved into it.
Yeah, that seems.
The house has got good bones.
Yeah. The weird thing about the New Gods, though, is even though they are technically gods, even in DC standards, other gods have a very specific relationship where, like, do people believe in this or feel this thing or do this thing? I am empowered by that.
Yeah.
And the New Gods are kind of apart from that because they're a little
they're more
spacey.
Space aliens. Yeah.
So they're slightly separated from that.
Well, let's continue with that, because the next question I think will play off of that, which is from C. Robin Bear, who asks, were the New Gods created or are they creators?
Oh, that's very philosophical.
I know.
Well, they were created.
Well, there you go. Moving on.
No, like they are not the first generation. We said off the top, both Highfather and Darkseid's parents are part of the old gods, Yukon and stuff like that.
Their creation is like part of like they're not the regular gods. They're the new gods because they were created.
Exactly. And their creation goes back multiple generations to that like Ugrund, the version of like Asgard. That was basically what Kirby's pitch was for Ragnarok in Thor when he was working at Marvel, and they were like, we don't want to do that. And he was like, all right, see ya.
But do they create themselves then? Or like not themselves, but do they create?
I mean, there are children of new gods.
Yeah.
They can like couple and things like that. They don't create in that sort of like
godlike creation,
deity sense where they're like, let's just go into the lab and make life. They create as in they
whole. Go ahead, please.
No, I was gonna say they create as in they like self-propagate. There's some very steamy scenes of Mr. Miracle and Big Barda in that Mr. Miracle.
That's
series.
like saying that we're gods.
I mean, hot damn.
Yeah.
When was Walt Simonson's run on Thor? Was that the 80s?
Oh, maybe?
Because, like, it's funny when you think about Fourth World, where the idea was, like, somebody pitched something interesting happening in a Thor comic, and Marvel was like, no. And then, like, the only Thor comic that is now remembered at all is the weirdest run of Thor that there ever was, where there's a horseman and a frog and weird shit happening constantly.
Yeah,
and it's just interesting to me that, like, Thor is this weird flashpoint where like nobody knows what to do with it, but then when people have ideas for it, people are like, I don't know, all our ideas are bad, but what if we didn't do yours as well? Like, and the one time they didn't do that is like the good one, and I guess like and then you had to wait another like 100 years for Jason Aaron to do it a second time.
Yeah, really,
because it's literally like Walt Simonson's run and the God Butcher. Tell me a third good Thor arc.
Yeah,
wow.
that's interesting.
Yeah, fuck.
I mean, I don't read enough Marvel to pitch in there, but I'm
And I
willing
mean,
to
and don't get me
believe
wrong,
that there
like,
aren't that
Simon's
many good
run is one of the
Thors.
best runs of comics ever, and like the God Butcher rules because Jason Aaron is a national treasure. But beyond that, it's just like it's very interesting to me that like Fourth World could have been the first time Thor was like a good book, and instead like I don't know.
Yeah, there's an alternate history where like the New Gods are a Marvel property and they come
Where
from Thor,
Darkseid is
and
literally owned by Marvel.
DC immediately closes its doors, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been
Do
incredible.
you think that like see, I think DC would still be fine though if they had Darkseid, because at the end of the day, like DC's always gonna have Batman. Literally, DC Comics originally stood for Detective Comics because of Batman.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, that's a fair point.
And so it's always, I always look at it and go but I feel like DC is very much like Nintendo, where like people who don't like them are always like they're almost dead. Like it's like people who hate the Simpsons.
they're
where it's like,
all
why
right,
is
yeah.
this so important to you?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a fair point.
They still are selling more comic books than Marvel, so.
Yeah.
All right.
They need it.
Boom. Now let's leave Instagram and head on over to email.
Check the
I
email.
hope it's from a female. Who asks?
It's not.
It's not. It rarely ever.
No one's
is.
got
I
a
don't know. This one
featuring
could
on
be.
it.
This question comes from Galen. Galen.
It's probably Galen.
I bet it's Galen and not Gallon.
Yeah, it's the guy that sabotaged the Death Star.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
McClunky. Who asks?
Oh, I was thinking.
Who is a new god that you would like to see get more time in the spotlight?
Oh.
Kyle.
My answer's dumb because like I think it'd be cool to see like an Oberon book, but where he's like kind of the villain of the book, but you follow him doing dirty politics in the New Gods worlds.
So Oberon comes to New Genesis, and then
Yeah, or no, not Oberon. Fuck, who's the Scott's brother, the one who's Darkseid's son?
Orion.
Orion, that's it. That's
Right.
it. I'm fucking up. Like Orion as an asshole, like in a book about maybe like somebody, maybe from a bug servant in the Highfather Palace,
Right.
like watching Oberon do fucked up stuff and do like a weird political book, like and do it like that,
Right.
I love that. That's
little,
awesome.
little more focus on Orion.
like House of Cards, but with the New Gods.
That's interesting.
House of Cards minus that one guy.
Well, but you cast him with just an evil man who was born of the devil.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So like House of Cards.
Richard, do you have a new god, one that like we've talked about or that's come up that you feel like you want to learn more about?
I mean, I still want to know more information about Granny Goodness because I still feel like that is untapped potential there, and I mean, just trying to figure out where Granny Goodness came from, we don't really have a great answer. So.
Yeah, and that
Dude,
and the
a
fact
Full
that
Metal Jacket with Granny Goodness as Arlie Ermy.
well, yeah, because
Oh,
she
yeah.
runs this like torture orphanage,
Torchiness?
title.
torchinage.
Torphanage?
Torchinage? We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
I think that
Just Granny Goodness, or like Granny Goodness and all the female Furies, like Lashina and Bernadette,
Yeah,
and
dog.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Harriet and Stampa and all them.
I would love to do that, but like as like a sort of like 18th century like story, sort of from that perspective.
Oh,
So like treating it
like Three Musketeers, but
yeah.
That'd be tight.
Yeah.
I
That'd be
kinda
real.
love that.
I support this plan. I would enjoy this book.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of on that note, my that I'm picking is sort of like the 18th century sort of new god, which is Kanto. He's like he's like an assassin new god, but he's like very dandy. Like he enjoys like good wine and he like wears fancy clothes. He's like
I think we just realized Kyle is apparently is a little bit like Kanto.
yeah, he's like a Kanto is like a
Do you need
very,
more ruffled shirts?
Kanto is a very deadly assassin. Works for Darkseid. He's a bad guy, but he's like he's like Jussac from like the Three Musketeers. He's like this very I think that's a story I would want to see. It would be neat if we did just something with him,
Yeah.
because that it's that
really neat
fun.
way.
It's that fun thing,
Nice.
terrifying thing.
I prefer the new.
Look how cool this is.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Those of you can't see at home, I moved my camera to try to adjust to my height because I sat differently, and it caught the sunlight, and there's this like rainbow of light shooting across my face now.
It's a lens flare, actually.
J.J. Abrams is directing my coronavirus experience.
But yeah, I like those, like the juxtaposition thing of someone who is exceedingly deadly, very, very scary, but like enjoys the finer things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that American Psycho kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think that would be fun.
I like the monologue he has about his business card in the. Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about his mother box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the last question from Patreon. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Uh,
Uh,
I mean, I like that you're honest.
Seriously though,
Yeah.
pay us.
Yeah. You put the pay in Patreon.
Yeah.
The last question comes from the Senator, James Paulson,
James Paulson.
son of Paul, who asks, which of the new gods would be easiest to fit into classic mythology? Which of the new gods is the most powerful?
Dark side for both.
Well,
I mean,
the second question's answer is the easiest. It's Darkseid is the most powerful. Now, you say Darkseid to add into classic mythology?
Yeah. Where he just like fucks up all the mythology. He's like, eat a dick, Hercules. I'm in charge now. This is dark side time. I is.
Oh,
That's a good comic book joke, Richard. I am upset that you didn't laugh at that.
I didn't
Darkseid
completely
saying
hear you.
I
I'm gonna be
is.
completely
he
honest.
said I is. Like, like Darkseid
yeah,
is.
no,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'll see you dead.
There was a bit in the New 52 run of Wonder Woman where they worked Orion in, and I don't know if it was 100% like playing on the name, because like Orion is also a figure in Greek mythology, and that was like they were like,
Yeah.
oh, we already have a character called Orion, let's bring him in. Like there's maybe ways to do it that way. Oh God. I think you could bring Highfather in, especially like the old visual version. Like the new Highfather looks very much like a military general. The old Highfather was like guy in a cloak with a shepherd's crook. And I think you could easily fit that guy into probably like a bunch of mythologies, a Celtic mythology or something like that. Just somewhere.
Anywhere where a crook in a robe is not questioned.
Yeah. Does New Zealand have a mythology?
I hope so. I assume so.
I mean, beyond the Maori, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would.
And
I'd probably,
dead alive.
I'd probably say Highfather. I think.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I'd watch Highfather in Dead Alive.
What we do in the shadows.
No, I don't. I think that those are probably the two answers I would have had.
Yeah. I mean, Desaad feels like something straight out of mythology. He's the torture god of apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one too.
That's one.
I guess what do you do with them then though? Because like they are all kind of mythological already. So like, are you just like which one can you like drop into another mythology? Is that the question?
Yeah, I think
Because then
so.
it's like, well, which mythology would you put them into?
I mean, there's something truly evil about putting someone like Desaad into something like a Hindu mythology where he could theoretically torture you for lifetimes.
I believe the Hindu gods already have that pretty well covered.
Well, yeah.
They got a lot of gods of kicking your fucking ass. It's amazing.
That's fair enough. That's true. Yeah, maybe all of the ground's already covered. There's no room. Does someone need an assistant?
Good God.
Yeah.
That was the last
Or
question.
like just put like just somebody totally like worthless and like put them into a really fun continuity just because like they won't affect it at all.
Right. Just take Forager and put Forager somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like Forager does well in whatever world you put him into. Like he's in really his worst. He's gonna really pick up and get shit going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the worst he's ever had it was his home world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point.
There's a good like 90s Forager comic or like comedy like in the vein of like The Mask, where they abandon 90% of the continuity and just make a fun movie. Like there is a Forge, like a bug man on Earth adjusting to life where he's not being a tortured slave all the time. That is like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe Diedrich Bader plays him.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's really good, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Like he hangs out with Janine Garofalo. Should we get a time machine together, gentlemen?
Oh my God, it's happening.
Oh my God, are we just in the 90s again? This is incredible.
Are we allowed to be in a time machine together right now?
Oh yeah. Oh no.
By the way, I just read the first Dark Horse omnibus of the original Mask books. Have you guys ever read them?
No.
Fascinating knowing the movie, because the movie was a movie I loved as a kid, and
Yeah.
like it's still a lot of fun, but like it is great. Like the Mask is just a murder machine who just kills everyone all the time,
Oh,
and like 20
Jesus.
different people have it, and every time it just wills you to do something so you can become a violent sociopath and kill people around you.
That's
It's
not smoking at
fascinating.
all.
What is the Mask tied to in those comics? Is it supposed to be like Mayan or something?
In the movies, it's Loki. Like it's
Oh.
a mask with Loki in it. In the comics, they're just like it's just an evil mask.
Oh, okay.
And also, his name is Big Head in the comics.
Oh.
Like when he's wearing the mask, his name's Big Head. Like there's stuff where you just see like you see how the movie we got happened based on like reading the book. You're like, oh, clearly you'd cut this, this, and this, and then like this makes this easier, and this is a more interesting version of this because
Oh,
it like
weird.
basically Stanley Ipkiss dies in like the third issue, and it's his girlfriend and the police detective trying to stop other people from becoming the mask and killing people.
Wow.
Oh shit.
It's a cool book.
I
Like,
want to
it's
see
very
that.
weird.
Yeah.
I want to see that,
That-
like Netflix series. Like
Oh, yeah.
hard-boiled like detective thing of stopping people from becoming the Mask.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's a fascinating thing because like, and it's funny because like in the movie the detective has the same name but is instead this like blowhard tough guy instead of like the kind of one of the two heroes of the book. You're like, oh man, this is fascinating. I bet you're real bummed when you got the script after reading the books for research as an
Yeah,
actor.
No kidding. Weird. Crazy.
Somebody stop me.
Oh my God. He's crying.
Still works. Yeah. Same script, just different tonality. All right. This is that rainbow's back. Oh, it's gone. I was enjoying your.
I'm just excited how well lit I am.
It's nice. We're actually using actual lighting too. We're using like actual studio lighting right now.
See, what's funny? I actually hung, like you guys can't see it from where you're at, but a piece of paper is a white bounce
Oh,
in
yeah,
front
you
of where I
did.
sit at my laptop, so that people for that exact reason.
Yeah. God
Oh my
damn it.
God. You're so hard right now.
I know. You can see where this relationship came from. Clearly,
It was
one
funny
side.
because a girlfriend was quite upset because I like set up several lights and a white bounce to like look nice on the thing, and hers was just like her in her pajamas. She hasn't showered in 2 days, like laying there, just like, hey. It was real fun.
That's awesome. All right. Let's go to the next part that we're all prepared for.
Yep. We know what's coming up.
Yep, that's right. Time for Dial Doc.
That's right. Based on Dial H for Hero, you get the magic H dial. You type hero in and you become a never before seen hero or villain with crazy powers and a wacky name. And every episode, we try and come up with a new one. And stall for time.
Yes.
Do you have one?
I can have one. Yeah.
You can have
Yeah,
one, or you?
I could have one.
Okay.
My character's name is Adaptation,
Okay.
who can see forward into the future of basically what of like what's going to happen, but has to like reverse engineer how to get to that.
Right.
So has to be able to basically create the steps that will turn into the thing that they want.
Sorry, one more time. They have to create the steps to turn into the thing they want.
So like basically they have to like reverse engineer the solution that they want, so they can see what's going to happen.
Oh, I see. And then they got to work backwards from that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting. So that's adaptation.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one. Mine is called Loom and Gloom.
Oh, okay.
Basically, Loom and Gloom they have this giant. It's like just a big loom, and they can weave your fate.
Classic
like-
feet.
But
weaving.
not just like the one string. They're like actually weaving, like using a loom. They have to make a tapestry showing what your full fate is.
Wow.
So you only have until they finish making the tapestry to change
Change your fate. Yeah.
And then once it's finished
I
and it's off
genuinely
the
enjoy
loom,
this.
then it's locked in.
I came up with a hero named The Cure.
Okay.
And they are a superhero whose power is to cure all diseases on planet Earth. And they
wonder
do
where
it
that
in the
came
first
from.
issue, and then they decide that they need to create a life for themselves after they've solved everything. So they start a pretty good goth band I like a lot.
Wow.
Maybe the most Kyle answer.
Yeah, possibly. All right. Well, we would love to hear what type of characters you residents can come up with. So
Yeah.
just use the hashtag DialDoc and send us your characters, or you can send us a question for next week's episode.
Have you
We know
guys
when
ever
this is
had
coming.
somebody send a character they created?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh yeah.
We've had some.
Oh,
Actually,
really?
probably the
Oh.
best ones come from them, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. They're always better than ours.
What was it? Was Soup or Man?
Soup or Man was a person that could either be soup or a person.
Yeah. That was not my.
I support that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I really liked that one.
Yeah, next week's episode, if you want to send questions, we're gonna be talking about viruses, diseases,
Wow.
contagion in the DC universe.
Could really use The Cure right now.
Shut the fuck up.
Unfortunately, he was acquired by Atlas, and it was dissolved.
Yeah, so send your questions or your dial docs.
Absolutely. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on, as always.
Always a pleasure, boys. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate
Well, yeah,
that.
we love it. We
Uh,
finally got to the fourth world after like dicking you around for a year and a half about it.
I think it's been 2 years. It's been since at least Morrison.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, it would
Morrison
be
was my
probably 2
first
years
one.
today, actually.
Oh yeah.
'Cause-
Oh,
Man,
shit.
look at that.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
Is this our Kyle anniversary?
Holy shit, it is.
What's my Kyle anniversary?
Have I done?
guess you had
I've done 4 since then.
Gee.
Yeah, this is your fourth episode, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Fourth, not counting calls during Darkness.
Yeah, well, fuck.
Oh yeah. Hey, what happens in Darkness stays in Darkness.
Thank you very
Exactly,
much. Yes. Wow. Yeah. So promote your stuff. I mean, not that you need to, because literally that's where all of our fans come from.
Sure. I mean, yeah. My podcast, This Is Rad. It is a podcast where people talk about stuff they like, and it's fun. I have an album called Absolute Terror that if you're looking for stand-up comedy albums, I have that one and one called I'm a Person. They're both on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff.
Radland
and,
Records.
Yeah, check out. Oh yeah, my record label Radland Records, which will eventually be more of a thing. Richard does a lot of stuff for that. I should check in with you about the next record we're putting out's cover because I sent you all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Good thing I've done a lot of work on that. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're all doing a lot of work on it. It's great. That record has not come lost in the shuffle based on some shit that has happened at all.
No.
But that said, yeah, Radland Records. There's a ton of great artists: Keith Carey, Tom Goss, Jenny Hamilton of Yukon,
Oh,
White
yeah,
Horse Ass
that's right.
Canada.
Yukon's own.
Maybe some more Yukon artists in the near future.
Yeah, I'll sign fucking every comic in your town. They're all
I know
fun.
you said it. I'm taking you for that. Not you.
You hear that,
Anyone
Steph?
but you.
Come on, I'm good.
Yeah, that's what all good comedians say.
Come on, I'm good.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, they do.
You also have another podcast.
It's usually in the mirror at night after a set has gone wrong.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, your other podcast.
Your spooky podcast.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Everything is scary. My spooky podcast. Again, I make it largely as an excuse to hang out with my friend Jen Saunderson. We just decided if we're going to hang this much, we should do a thing out of it. But people really seem to enjoy it and listen, which makes me really happy. It's Jen Saunderson and I talking about horror movies. And we've got some really fun ones. We've got some cool ideas coming up. We keep saying that, and then shit keeps happening in the world. But
Fair enough, yeah.
It was fun. I've actually been cramming trying to watch some horror movies recently because I have not watched a ton. Because instead I'm getting distracted by Star Trek and Ghostbusters Extreme.
Fair enough, yeah.
Are you still on the DS9 train, or you moved on from that?
No, I've been because the world is a terrible place. I've been watching some next gens because they calm me and comfort me.
Oh, I'm in the middle of my DS9
I saw that-
train right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
DS9 is
DS9's the
hands
best.
down the horniest Star Trek.
Ooh,
I don't. Next Gen does
Act-
some really horny shit, though.
but next gen doesn't get horny till later.
That's true.
DS9 is horny out the gate. There's the episode. I mean, Bashir is
Well, 'cause,
constantly.
yeah, Bashir, that
is
little troll.
constantly after Dax. I
Yeah.
mean, Quark is basically running like fuck lodges out of his bar. The Vedic from Bajor keeps trying to bang Kira. There's the episode where Cisco falls in love with a ghost.
There's also the one me and my friend and hilarious comedian Clee Wiggins were talking about where the Dax runs into her old wife, and it's just an excuse for a bunch of soft focus video, like footage of ladies making out, which is the episode that, of course, Avery Brooks directed.
That makes sense.
That's incredible.
It's the funniest thing in the world when you get all of the pieces going on here. And you're like, this is a lot of fun. Everybody was like, hey, this is that crazy week.
All right. Also, This Is Rad has a Patreon, so make sure you subscribe to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, we have Patreon, patreon.com/thisisrad. I also have a Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Kyle Clark is Rad. At This Is Rad Pod is the pod. At Pod Scary is the horror podcast. I realize I'm so bad at promoting things.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for. This is radpodcast.com also exists, even though no one ever talks about it. So thanks a lot, Kyle, for being on the podcast again.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you in the very near future, I think. And of course, you can reach out to us through our various social media platforms, such as our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
our Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com,
our Reddit,
r/Dr_DC.
We've also got a YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's Dr. DC Podcast on YouTube.
We never talk about that, so I figured.
Well, I think the plan, we have one video episode. All of our regular episodes are up there as audio anyway. Yep. But we have plans for some more video episodes coming.
Maybe some other type of video content. Who knows? Oh my God. Of course, give us a phone call at the Doc phone.
208-917-3238.
That's 208-917-3238 or DCEU if you're nasty. Also, don't forget to go to our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
We love those reviews, baby.
Yeah, send those 5-star reviews. We're at 73 right now. When we get to 100, we will release a mini series.
Good God.
Lord of the Rings podcast. Same format, new content.
That's right.
Yeah. So keep those reviews coming on iTunes and Facebook and all those other great places.
Also, don't forget our Patreon.
Patreon.com/DrDC. 2 levels, $5 level and a $7 level. There's lots of bonus content every week, from a full bonus episode to a video episode about stuff I'm currently reading, to voting on episode themes and merch discounts and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we will we'll talk to you on Friday unless things are in dire straits.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.
I'm still recording?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. You son of a bitch.
What?
All right, bye, Kyle.